In 1969, America spent $280 billion in today's money and put 12 humans on the moon. Fast forward to 2026, we've already spent $93 billion on a new moon program. And guess how many people have landed? 0. So where is all this money actually going? This is the real story behind NASA's Artemis program, and it's a masterclass in government waste. Welcome back. In 1961, President Kennedy announced that the United States would put a man on the moon before the end of the decade. At that moment, America had spent approximately 15 minutes in space in total. We did not have the rocket. We did not have the spacecraft. We did not have the navigation systems, the life support, or the materials science to survive the journey. 8 years later, and approximately $280 billion in today's dollars, Neil Armstrong stepped onto the lunar surface. It is now 2026. NASA has been working on its return to the moon for more than a decade. The program has spent approximately $93 billion. And no one has landed. That number is not a criticism. It is a question. A very specific question that almost nobody is asking clearly. Where is the money going? The program is called Artemis. It was announced with a clear and specific target: American astronauts, including the first woman and first person of color, back on the moon by 2024. That deadline passed. The target moved to 2025, then 2026. The official projected date for a crewed lunar landing is now 2027. Internal NASA documents suggest 2028 or 2029 is a more realistic assessment. For context, the Apollo program went from 0 to moon landing in 8 years. Artemis, at current pace, will have taken between 12 and 15 years, with the benefit of 60 additional years of aerospace technology, materials science, and computing. This outcome was not inevitable. It was produced by specific decisions, specific contracts, and specific incentive structures that we are going to trace carefully. The Space Launch System represents a staggering investment of $23.8 billion in development costs. Each SLS flight costs $4.1 billion to launch. After a single flight, the entire vehicle is discarded into the ocean. For comparison, SpaceX's Falcon Heavy launches for $150 million. SpaceX's Starship targets just $10 million per launch. For $0.1 billion buys 27 Falcon Heavy launches, or 410 Starship launches, or one SLS flight that gets thrown away. The centerpiece of Artemis is the Space Launch System, SLS. It has successfully launched once, in November 2022, on an unmanned test flight. Development cost, approximately $23.8 billion. Already $6 billion over original budget. Each individual SLS launch costs an estimated $4.1 billion. Not development. Per launch. Every single time it leaves the ground, for $0.1 billion leaves with it. SpaceX Falcon Heavy. Approximately $150 million per launch. SpaceX Starship target. $10 million. Even at 10 times that estimate, for $1 billion cheaper per flight than SLS. At $4.1 billion per launch, you could fund 27 Falcon Heavy launches. Or 410 Starship launches. Or build a hospital for a city of 1 million. And after every SLS launch, the rocket is discarded. Falls into the ocean. Does not fly again. Every mission requires a brand new rocket from scratch. The prime contractor for SLS is Boeing. This is not a purely technical decision. When Congress mandated SLS in 2011, the language was unusually specific. Use existing facilities at Marshall Space Flight Center in Alabama and Michoud Assembly in Louisiana. Boeing operates under a cost-plus contract. The company is billed for all costs plus a guaranteed profit percentage. This creates a perverse incentive structure. There is no incentive to reduce costs. Ever. The GAO has flagged SLS 17 times for cost overruns and delays. Build on existing contracts, specifically with Boeing, which had been contractor on the Constellation program, canceled after spending approximately $9 billion. The result is what space policy analysts consistently call a jobs program. The SLS contract is cost-plus. Boeing submits costs. NASA reimburses, plus guaranteed profit margin on top. Under cost-plus, there is no financial incentive to reduce costs. Every dollar of overrun is passed to the taxpayer. Every delay extends the contract. The contractor is more profitable the longer the program runs and the more it costs. This is the mathematical logic of the contract structure. The Government Accountability Office has issued 17 separate reports flagging SLS for cost overruns and schedule delays. 17. More than one critical audit per year, every year, for over a decade. Here is why the cost and schedule problems matter beyond NASA's budget. China has publicly committed to landing takenauts on the moon by 2030. Some internal documents suggest as early as 2028. And they're doing it for a fraction of the cost. China's total lunar program, roughly $10 to $15 billion. The US Artemis program, $93 billion. The moon's south pole holds something invaluable, water ice. This ice can be converted into rocket propellant, creating a refueling station for the entire solar system. Whoever establishes a permanent presence there first doesn't just win a space race. They control the infrastructure for the next 50 years of space exploration. China's total estimated lunar program cost, approximately $10 to $15 billion, roughly 1/6 of what the US has spent on Artemis. This is not about prestige. The moon's south pole contains confirmed water ice deposits, convertible to rocket propellant. A nation with a permanent extraction facility, there has built a refueling station for the entire solar system. Deep space missions to Mars become dramatically cheaper when you can refuel in lunar orbit. The moon also contains helium-3, potential fusion fuel, and rare earth minerals. The first nation to establish sustained presence at the lunar South Pole has a structural advantage in any future space-based economy. The current Artemis schedule puts the United States at risk of arriving second. NASA HLS contract, SpaceX Starship. Contract value, $2.9 billion. Landing vehicle, $2.9 billion total. One SLS launched to deliver it for $0.1 billion. The delivery costs more than the payload and is discarded after every use. Here is the part most people have not fully absorbed. NASA awarded the Human Landing System contract, the vehicle that will actually land on the moon, to SpaceX in April 2021. Contract value, approximately $2.9 billion. That is the price of the vehicle that will touch the lunar surface. Total development and production, $2.9 billion. One SLS launch costs $4.1 billion. The rocket that delivers astronauts to lunar orbit costs more per flight than the total contract for the system that lands them on the moon. And after delivery, the rocket is discarded. The next mission requires a brand new SLS, another $4.1 billion, to deliver astronauts to a landing system that cost $2.9 billion to develop in total. The delivery mechanism is more expensive than the payload it delivers. And it is thrown away after every trip. This is the idiot index at planetary scale. Let us follow the money specifically. Boeing has received approximately $14 billion in SLS contracts. Delivered one stage. Flown once. Lockheed Martin, Orion Prime contractor, approximately $20 billion. Flown once unmanned. Northrop Grumman, solid rocket boosters, approximately $3.5 billion. Aerojet Rocketdyne engines, billions, discarded each flight. All cost plus. All politically mandated. All in key congressional districts. The rocket is not just an engineering project. Aerojet Rocketdyne, RS, 25 engines, approximately $100 million per engine set, the same engines that powered the space shuttle, updated, modified, and discarded after every flight. These are not random selections. Boeing's manufacturing is in Alabama and Louisiana, states represented by members of the committees that oversee NASA funding. Northrop's booster work is in Utah. Lockheed's Orion work spans Florida, Colorado, Louisiana. The money flows to politically optimal locations through contractually optimal structures to produce an outcome that maximizes program longevity and cost, not speed or affordability. The rocket is not just an engineering project. It is a jobs program, with a launch vehicle attached. 3 possible futures. 1. Continuation, same structure, 2027 to 2029 landing. 2. Commercial pivot, Starship leads, SLS reduced. 3. China lands first, political reset. From this point, 3 plausible futures. First, continuation. Current structure proceeds. Artemis 2, crewed flyby, launches 2026. Artemis 3, first crewed landing, 2027 or 2028. Program continues at $4.6 per year. Second, commercial transition. Political and budget pressure shifts program toward commercial launch. Starship becomes primary vehicle. Cost drops dramatically. Speed increases. But Boeing, Northrop, Lockheed lose significant contracts, and the political constituencies that depend on them resist hard. Third, the scenario nobody is planning for. China lands first. Political pressure creates either emergency appropriation, a blank check space race, or forces the restructuring toward commercial that the schedule crisis demands. The irony is that the crisis scenario might produce better long-term outcomes than continuation. The $93 billion question is not whether the moon is worth going back to. It is. The question is simpler and harder. Is the structure being used to get there the right structure for a mission that requires speed, cost discipline, and technical progress? The math is not complicated. Apollo succeeded because it had 3 things: a non-negotiable deadline, political leadership that overrode industrial inertia at critical moments, and a budget structure oriented toward the goal, not toward sustaining the institutions that came before it. Artemis has the budget. It does not have the deadline discipline, and it operates through a procurement model designed for a different era, different competition, different priorities. The moon has been there for 4.5 billion years. The water ice will not evaporate. The helium-3 is not going anywhere. But the strategic window arriving first, establishing infrastructure first, is measured in years. And the clock is running. $93 billion. 0 landings. A landing vehicle worth less than 1 rocket launch. A race the United States has outspent every competitor, but not yet won. The math is not complicated. The politics are. If this changed how you see the space program and where your tax dollars are going, hit like and subscribe. Next video, how China is winning the new space race and what that means for American technology leadership over the next 20 years. See you there.